Hey everyone, I hope that you are doing well. I wanted to check in with you today as we're starting Unit 5 in our intercession class. Thanks so much for all of your hard work up to this point. I've been very impressed with the dedication, the time, the effort that you've all spent. I know it's an intensive couple of weeks, but again, I really have enjoyed reading your thoughts, your ideas about New Mexico's histories. Unit 5, we're going to get into the period of the early 20th century. So we're going to talk about the Mexican Revolution and New Mexico. We're going to talk about World War I and ways that despite the final arrival of statehood, that didn't necessarily address a lot of the problems that New Mexicans faced and continue to face. So that's kind of where we're headed over the next couple of days with those topics. I did want to point out that I've rearranged the gradebook a little bit. I don't actually know what it looks like to you all, so maybe you'll see this, maybe you won't. But on my end, I've switched it around so that the journals and discussions fall into the same category. That way, their columns are aligned next to each other, so I can tell whether or not you've completed one or the other. So remember, for each unit, you don't need to do both the discussion and the journal. So you don't need to do both the discussion and the journal, just one or the other. So make sure that you're still doing that. I think most everyone has figured that out. I have been entering zeros, though, just so you know when due dates have passed. Remember that you can submit late work for no penalty. I do have to cut things off this Sunday, May 9th at noon. That is the final due date for everything in the class, because I have to figure grades at that point. Sorry, I got distracted by an email that popped up while I was trying to make this video. So anyway, the whole point being, if I put in the zeros, it kind of gives you a better sense of where things are at this point. But again, you can go back and make things up. So please let me know if you have any questions, if I've made any errors or that sort of thing. It happens from time to time. I do my best to double check. All right, the other thing that's coming during Unit 5, it's due tomorrow, Wednesday the 5th, by midnight, is the list of sources or your bibliography for the final project. Remember, at this stage, you don't need to annotate the bibliography. The final project itself that you create either on Adobe Spark, or I mentioned before that you can use a different platform or a different format if you'd like. You could do a video, you could do a podcast, you could do a number of different things if you want. Let me know. I did provide some instructions for how to do the project on Spark, so it's fine to just go that route if you would like. So do let me know if you have any questions about that part. The final project is due on Sunday the 9th by noon. Due on the 5th then is your list of sources. Use whatever format you're accustomed to. I'll put a link to a few different ways to cite social media type sources. I have social media sources in the mix of required sources just so that you can kind of put out some feelers and see whether or not people are talking about your topic on social media, and if so, whether or not what they're saying actually fits with what you've found in academically peer-reviewed sources, in primary sources, and the other research that you've done. So are people talking about your topic on social media, one? And if so, are they talking about it in a reasonable, truthful way? And if not, what does that say? So that's kind of the point of that part of the project. If you find, though, that there aren't any mentions of your topic on social media, just make a note of that in your bibliography or your list of sources. It's okay if there's no mention of it. You don't need to worry about that. All right, so I'll add that link to how to cite social media sources. Use whatever citation format you're most familiar with. If you're not familiar with one, I've given you a link in the instructions to Chicago style. That's what historians use. Let's see. So I think that's the big thing. If you're having any trouble finding sources, if you're not sure what an academic source is, see the videos and the comments that I've added in the instructions for the project. The shorthand for academic sources is that they are peer-reviewed. So peer-reviewed journals, articles in those are academic sources. You can find those via the CNM Libraries search page. Also, you can look for books that are published by university presses. That means that they have been peer-reviewed, so those are also considered academic sources. You can do a Google book search and get a preview of big sections of a lot of books. So if you need to do your work digitally and you don't really have time and it's still difficult to go to a library physically, given the pandemic and restrictions, try to use Google Books. That's a helpful way to get enough of the book. You don't need to read an entire book for this project, but find the places where the book addresses your specific research question. All right. I think that's all I have for you for now. Let me know what questions you have, how I can help, and I will talk to you soon.